James. He's looks a bit serious today, kind of as he's in charge. He's got his finger on the buttons.
I'm just prepared for what you're going to get up to. That's it. I'm keeping an eye.
If we promise to behave ourselves, would that be all right? Yeah.
Behave, and we shall be out.
And we'll be the judges of what is good behavior.
There you go.
All right.
That's
agreed,
okay.
So. That's agreed. So
we've sorted out. The contract has been signed.
Anyhow,
The patient is recovering, as Trump says.
The patient is recovering. Anyhow, we will endeavour to put before you our version on the assessment of the presented facts, but of course you, the public, will be the ultimate judges as to whether indeed they are facts, alternative facts, falsehoods, or merely political spin. Now, we are going out live on where? Facebook? YouTube.
Alexa.
Yes, don't forget Alexa.
Yeah.
Alexa.
And also, of course, 90.8 FM.
And you can get us.
90.8 FM, and we have quite a few listeners listening to us. If any of you would feel the urge to call us up here, contact us here, and get involved in the program, you will be most welcome. We will like to hear from you if you have a point to make, or a point to discuss, or a point to contradict, or whatever you'd like. And give us your evaluation of the presented facts. But for now, we are, as usual, we will go on to local news here in Belmullet and Kynes. And if anybody of the panel would like to discuss any of the local news, we will do that as well. Now, the first item I have here is the Erris Workability Organisation will hold the last clinic of its present programme in the Bangor Community Hall on next Wednesday, April the 9th. That's the Erris Workability Centre. Now, talking about Lotto, we'll be talking about Lotto later on, but kind of the jackpot in the Bangor GA Lotto at 17,000 went there the last week or the week before. It was €17,000, and it went on to a young fella, Kyle Padden, and he was presented by his cheque there recently by the two Kiltane GA members, John Munnelly and Richard Koskov. Now, I hope the young fella can wisely spend the 17,000. It's a lovely, nice prize to get. And maybe someday, maybe one of our own people around here who do the lotto might be the winners as well. You wouldn't know. Fecky might. Now, the Irish United are holding an Easter coaching session. It's a kind of a fun session for boys and girls between the ages of 6 and 14 years of age. It'll be during the Easter period from April 14th to April the 16th, and it'll be on the day at 10 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. The fee is €50, and a £10 discount will be for siblings. Now, the course will be presented by Conor Kilcara, and Conor is a UEFA licensed coach. Booking information can be had from the telephone number 083 175 3142. That's if you're interested in having a bit of coaching in the football or the soccer football. And with this weather coming up now, I hope it'll last, and it'll be good fun for youngsters to be out there in the open and kicking the ball around. Now, the Tullacan Bay Rowing Club, they were mourning the loss, the demise of one of their main managers, main advisor, coach, and all-round supporter, Michael Goonan, who died there recently. And yes, Lau Jagoruanu. The Tullacan Bay Rowing Club have gone from strength to strength for many years in this country, and long may they survive. Now, another thing going from strength to strength in the areas is the darts playing competitions. It's going from strength to strength, and that was demonstrated by the various teams in the recent Mayo District Championships in Castlebar. The third Erris team went from 5-2 down against the Castlebar third team in the final to win the inaugural bowl by 7 points to 6. And the other two teams, the first and second team, they weren't so successful. But the second team was narrowly missed out to Westport in the finals. And the first team went to the final, but lost out to Castlebar first team as well. The club wish to thank all who supported their efforts and contribute to their success down through the years. Could have other boo in the league. Now, the National Ambulance Service, there's a big problem with the ambulance service, not only locally here in the country. And before we go any further, I'd like to stress that this is not an assessment or a criticism of the frontline staff or the ambulance staff. They are second to none, and they do an excellent job. But of course, the facilities are a bit scarce countrywide. And an ambulance here can be called out to different places, not only in the county, but in the country. And it could happen that an emergency would arise here while the ambulance was not available. And it happened before that ambulances had to come from maybe Galway or from Westmeath or Roscommon or from different areas to facilitate as people that got into difficulty. So it is. I think myself. I think it's high time that our national politicians would listen to those at local level who are providing services at local level, and provide the necessary funding and facilities and staff for the emergency services instead of listening to lobbyists and financially orientated concerns.
Yeah, possibly we'll come back to that a little later on.
We will. Is something we need to talk about, because it doesn't happen too often, but it doesn't have to happen too often. All emergency, a serious emergency has to happen at once for unsavory circumstances.
The worst thing that everything is just put out of your private companies.
Oh yeah.
That's where the problem lies.
Like Paul said, we'll come back to it maybe at the end of the local news when we take a break. Yeah.
So I've got a few bits of local news. The Belmullet Fire Service are going to hold a car wash at the station on the 19th of April.
19th of April,
which is 2 weeks today. All proceeds are going to go to the Friends of Belmullet Hospital Palliative Care Room. So, A, you get a good car wash, and B, it's going to a good cause.
Where is that? At the station?
It's at the station. Yep.
Okay. We'll remember that. I think that there will be another car wash coming up later on. Kantar and Eli are having a car wash as well. But I don't know.
Going to be a lot of clean cars in Erris.
I don't know what the date is. Well, I take it whichever comes first will have theirs, and whichever company is left will give it a good period of time before they do their own. These things can be adjusted according to circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the Belmullet Autism Friendly Town Committee will host company training on the Thursday, April the 10th at 6 p.m. in Erris in Sklora. That'll be here. It is an open to all in Erris and further afield who are in business. The training equips business and organizations on how to deal with autism in the general life and in business life, and create a friendly and acceptable atmosphere for them to enjoy life to the full. This is a specialized training program in partnership with As I Am, a national charity organization which is autistically led and dedicated to work with autistic people and their families. For further information, you can go to an email is a big long email. It's Belmullet Autism Friendly Town at email.com.
What we'll do is we'll
and
we'll get that put on the website.
We'll put that on the website and all lowercase figures. I have it down here and it looks very long.
Talking about, well, you're talking there specifically about autism. Erris Workability are going to be hosting a disability awareness workshop for employers and staff in Belmullet on May the 1st. I mean, this is a bit of advanced warning. From 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock. And this training is free for employers. And it's an ideal way in which you can start to improve accessibility and create a more inclusive environment in your workplace for staff and for customers. There's a phone number for Siobhan to be contacted with that. Yet again, we'll put that on the website so that anybody who's
Erris Workability.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they have just finished a series of lectures and clinics as well. The last one is in the Bangor Hall next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, yes.
Wednesday, yeah. So that they will probably be starting a new program after that one, and it's something that that kind of thing that we all should maybe take part in.
Just a little bit of awareness, possibly.
A little bit of recording, yeah.
Or is that too woke?
Now, Our Lady Secondary School transition year pupils, they had a very successful musical there recently, Greece. They had 2 full house sessions, and they also had matinee for primary school children. And they were ably assisted by a local band made up of past pupils, George Maloney, John Ruddy, and Tara Hayes. So our secondary schools here seem to be doing an awful lot of work, in whether it's educational or recreational, and they're always working for charities as well, and they do give charity contributions. Now,
the Tech also does very good high school musicals for the TY.
Yeah, what
group
the Tech were involved in the Kieran Madeline car race there recently, and they did very well in it. John Chevron did a lot of work on he decorated a car with the name and the event marked on the car itself and things like that. So and I think they had a bucket to go around in the school itself. Proceeds went to the RNLI, and the RNLI fundraising crew would like to thank all the organisers of the Kieran Mallon car race. It started in Castlebar and came from Castlebar to Westport, Newport, Mulranny, Bangor, Erris, Belmullet, Binghamstown. It ended in Binghamstown. Nín Reglan na Moy. Invite tenders for construction and alteration works of their facility at Bonalty, Glenamoy. For information, you may contact CHASA at 087 125 1642 or email dunchiechanai@gmail.com. That's the Nín Reglan na Moy. They're doing some construction work or some alteration work. And any local contractor that would like to do the work or would like a bit of work, they can contact them there.
I hope it's a bit faster than the school in Glencastle.
It's actually moved on an awful lot recently.
Has it?
It hasn't moved a lot. No. And basically, I think possibly there's a lot of work done behind, I believe.
Well,
now I was in the remember the day
the pyramids of Egypt seem to go up faster.
The day of the election, they had the elections in the back place there, and it was a lovely building back behind the school.
Oh yeah, I'm not criticising the actual work. I'm just saying it seems to be taking forever and ever.
I'm sure Atlem are going to start on some work like that fairly soon as well. Yeah. And so was Inver. We had that on here a couple of weeks ago that they were planning some future building or
there's work going on in Inver at the moment. They dug a big hole in what was the back?
That's
the
always
back of the
usually
school.
the start. Dig a big hole, isn't it? And then all these.
And then fill it in. There was lots of concrete and lots of rebar going in. We're talking about building work. Chagrani are holding a Safe Pass course on the 6th of May. And further details can be got.
Where is that?
Chagrani.
Jack Granny,
Yeah.
yeah, that's Durham Boy.
All right.
And that's on the 6th of May.
What are they doing? Are they?
The Safe Pass course, so that you can get work on a building site. Anybody who wishes to take part, details can be got on 097 88935. Yet again, we'll put that on.
We'll put that on. We'll have it up
Our social
later
media.
on, probably closer to the date. But it's nice to see these things well in advance and can you prepare for them. Now there's a lot of stuff happening here in Erris in Glora as well. There's a fella by the name of Harold having a purple day. whatever.
Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Harold and the Purple Crayons, yeah. And Erris in Glora, 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April the 23rd. It is a fun day for children between the ages of 5 and 10. Entry fee is €10 per child.
And booking is essential.
Yeah.
Booking is essential. Where do you book? Just book at the desk.
Book at the desk. You
At
can
the
phone
desk,
in
yeah.
0978
The purple
1079.
aspect of it, would that have anything to do with the old shells on in a ski where they used to get the purple dye? Way back, even for
What was that?
Well, it was used in printing.
Purple togas for the Roman aristocracy.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
only place they could get it was in a ski.
And apparently somewhere just
Well,
off
if you could
Sligo-
get it, then can you still get it?
I'm not sure. I don't see many people going around in purple togas at the moment, but
Well, we will send you into a ski to find out, will we?
it was a type of
You can bring James
winkle,
with you.
Yes.
winkle, and
and apparently somewhere in Sligo Bay as well.
yeah,
But the Romans were mad for it, and there was
great trade.
convoys of
Oh,
ships
where
going
did-
backwards and forwards from
Where
here
did
to
you get it from? Seashells, is it?
Yes, yeah.
What seashell? What species?
some kind of
A type
periwinkle.
of winkle, a type of winkle.
Winkles.
Not any old
The only
winkle.
thing
Not
I
any
knew
old.
about winkles is we used to pick them up and boil them when we were
Yes.
kids and
Oh, yeah.
have a feed down by the seashore.
Well, you didn't wear winkle pickers in your prime in the 1950s?
What
we
kind of, there were a lot of winkle pickers around when I was a young fella. Not for selling them but for local consumption.
Well,
Yeah.
talking of winkles, I remember when I was a kid, a 100-weight bag was either 15 shillings, and at the height then it would be £1.
Yeah.
Now it's
What
300
What weight?
euro.
What weight?
100 weight bag.
100 weight.
100
Yeah.
bag. Yeah, I remember back in
I thought
the
that was cheap. 15 shillings.
yeah, but back in the
15 shillings to £1. A pound
be
was
more-
high.
But
But now, at coming up to Christmas here, they were going for 300 euro.
Yeah, in the 70s, it was roughly mid 70s. It would have been, I think, somewhere between £7 and £9 a 100 weight. Joe Gallagher, they used to buy
I
them.
can't remember back that far. James.
Oh well, you don't remember
that
yesterday.
Yeah, didn't you break your line, Sean?
Well,
Anyhow,
talking about the Purple Crayon Day on Wednesday, the day before, there's the Little Gem Puppet Show here at Erris Glora, and yet again, booking is essential. The information can be got from here at the Civic Centre, or yet again, it'll be on the social media.
well, kind of social media, yeah. Now, kind of, while the next thing I have here is the Ballyglass Life, but kind of, we said that before, but they're very thankful to the Kieran Mall and Carries organisers for the €1,535 that they collected on the day. Community Lotto.
Oh,
No tickets.
Shh. Any winners?
No ticket.
No ticket at all? You'll be fired. You must have a ticket. The jackpot.
You've got to be in it to win it.
The Kilcommon Community Lottery, the jackpot is 10. Well, the last draw was 10,100. The next jackpot would be 10,200. It's getting up there. It's time for somebody to win it, Paul. And the numbers drawing the last time were 21, 23, 31, and 33. And but the house price, €100 went to Brendan Murray of Cornboy, and the €30 house price went to Lee Lavelle, Knockalower. And the second €30 off the offline price went to Michael King, Glengad, and the online €30 went to Karen McDonald, Cornboy, and the second prize went to Laura Gibbons, Belmullet. Now, today is the 5th of April. There's a football blitz in Kilcommon. It's for under 8s and under 10s for children, and the kind of what the big news of the day for that is that the John F. Kennedy football team from Leeds will be present, and they will be playing there at 3:30. They'll be playing the local team at 3:30 today. So kind of I wish them very well. The kids will start at 11 o'clock and have a football blitz.
And they'll miss the Grand National. They'll miss the Grand National.
The Grand National, what's that?
Oh no, come on. He's at it again.
I'd rather have a football
It's a little horse race that's run in Liverpool.
Just a small one.
Can't you see horses running around every day out through the fields? And yeah, that's down in Kilcommon. It's a big day in Kilcommon today, and the John F. Kennedy team from Leeds. And I think a lot of them have local connections there. They have strong connections there. That's why it's.
I wonder what connection John F. Kennedy had with Leeds.
Well,
yeah, you'd wonder.
No,
well, I was trying to work that out myself.
Yeah. That's
Seeing as I'm from not far away from Leeds.
If you hold on a minute, I'll explain it to you.
Well, here we go.
Yes, I know.
Now, Paul, it was you who jumped the gun there now.
Don't be trying to get in on James's thing there, jumping the gun.
Right, explain this to us.
Well, the Irish people in Leeds have an affinity with John F. Kennedy because he was president from America and an Irishman from Wexford.
And
That's
that's
why
the
they call him
explanation.
John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, but they're in Leeds.
John F. Kennedy
They're not in Ireland.
was well acclaimed all over Ireland, not just in Wexford.
And an awful lot.
He was the first foreign leader to speak in the All-Ireland, I think.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he was the first Catholic president of America as well.
Yeah, there as well as we all knew in our youth, we'd see there was a picture of the Pope and John F. Kennedy up alongside the Sacred Heart lamp. But later on, when some of his
secrets came out.
Man as a politician, but some of his womanizing became known. He was removed.
Well, kind of, he was a bit.
What about the Pope?
He was a bit fond of socializing, but he achieved a lot in life just the same. So we have to give him credit for what he achieved.
We need the likes of him back
And
now
the
at the moment.
was,
we do. Well, we do have a Cuban Missile Crisis, but
well, the Cuban Missile, he was the one that stood up to Khrushchev during the Cuban crisis, right? And he stood up well to him. He put the army on red alert.
Yep.
Did you have anything to do with that, Eddie?
Me? I was there at the time. I was in the army, and I spent the three nights camped at the airport, ready to go on board and jump into Cuba.
See, all these international things do have local significance.
Well,
people don't seem to recognize that quite often.
It was a scary time, kind of. I mean, we were talking about nuclear facilities, and the nuclear threat is still there, but it wasn't as real as it was in those days.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
I'm not sure if it's not ramping up at the moment. But we might get onto that later.
Khrushchev called the ships back midway to Cuba. They were nearly in Cuba when he called them back. and John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert, they were involved in it as well.
Mm.
But one of the other things that never came to light was who assassinated John F. Kennedy. That is still a kind of thing. Well, I think there may have been some development in it recently, but it hasn't been made public.
The paperwork has been released.
Paperwork
now
was
by
released.
All the
FBI, hasn't
paperwork's
it?
been released, and if there
Yeah.
was anything
Yeah.
unusual about it, I
Yeah.
think we
Yeah.
might have heard
Yeah,
by now.
I think
Well,
it's
can
still
you
the
say-
same man, but the conspiracy theories have never.
Well, there's always conspiracy.
Well, I think
theories.
everybody
stopped.
accepted that Javan, what's his name, was
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee
Yeah.
Harvey Oswald, that he
Mhm.
was not the killer. Because I mean, he was a man that failed the army, the first army firing test.
Mhm.
Now that's a .22 rifle firing at a target about 25
25
yards
yards
away.
Yeah, but he didn't
So-
have
Even I
to-
managed to
I
pass
mean,
that.
he wouldn't be
A marksman as such.
he wouldn't be a mad.
But he's only got to be lucky once, Eddie.
That's it.
Well,
Unlike the man who tried to take Trump out,
Yeah.
he wasn't lucky.
that was theatre at its best,
Oh well.
I'm afraid.
Mhm.
Did you ever see? Did you see his ear recently? There are no marks on it.
Oh God.
He was supposed to be hit in the ear by the bullet, and if he was hit in the ear,
A miracle from
bullet.
God.
Yeah.
A miracle from God.
Well, that's just it.
God is on Trump's side, is he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, we
Well, he says all the Catholics love him. Where he got the figures on that, I don't know. Yeah.
A lot of them do it for the simple reason that he is opposed to abortion. That's the reason the Catholics live.
But he's not opposed to it. He just says he is.
Well, like you say, Ted, there's a difference between what he says and what he believes.
Well, exactly. It's like the figures he read out there only recently. Like there's no proof on any of those figures that he gave.
Hmm?
There's no proof on any of the figures
But
that he
the
gave.
fact that he said
when
there
he's
was
on about
proof-
his
proof
tariffs.
enough for him,
Oh well.
and the kind is his rationale is that it should be good enough for you.
So we've
as well.
gone from local news to Leeds to
we're
America.
coming back to
So we
Cuban
will-
missile crisis.
We'll come back to
Mr. Trump. And,
local news.
All right. Okay.
I'll give-
So be quiet, James.
That wasn't me.
It
I
was
didn't
you that
start it.
started it. Yeah.
Who asked a question about Leeds and John F. Kennedy Football Club?
oh, I asked that.
Now,
Oh,
can-
There you go. So you see, it's Ted's fault, not mine.
something up
So
the
don't jump the gun, Leah.
Anyway.
No, leave the gun alone for now. Coming back to where I was, but where I was stopped there about 10 minutes ago. Kiltane GA Lotto.
That's where it started, all right.
That's the problem.
Well, Canning said their jackpot went a couple of weeks ago. Can the one young fella, Kyle Padden, like we said earlier on, got 17,000, and the jackpot now is 5,100, and no winners. The £50 consolation prize went to Aaron Barrett Gisala and to Lisa Calpin de Homa. Offline, €25 went to Peter McDonough Gisala, and the second offline prize went to William Doherty Shagradi. The online €50 went to Sandra Carey Ballina, and the online €25 went to Claire Clark Dublin. Now, bingo continues every Tuesday night in the Bangor Hall at 8 o'clock. The jackpot is €650 on 48 calls or less. Now, there's a couple of places still left for a free one-day first aid course. Now, that is something worthwhile for
Definitely.
anybody to have. I'll be here in Erris in Esclora again on April the 9th, that's next week, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. It is a basic first aid course that enables you to respond to medical emergency when it happens. So, I think it's something that we could all have as something. I suppose
It's
it's
quite
something
es-
a lot
it's quite
of
essential.
people did have years ago. It was quite popular a number of years ago in Belmullet here.
Yeah, it's a pity I'm busy on that day because
And,
it's about time I had a refresher course.
The same here. It's a few years since I did it as well.
Could be very rewarding to somebody to find somebody there with a heart stop that could start that heart again and get the breathing going. So it's a very important thing. But if you want to get involved in it, you can ring Rena Garrett at 087 184 0214. That's 087 184 0214. Or I'm sure that the desk would tell you, give you information about it as well if you asked it.
Well, I have more advanced warning. Dr. Mary O'Kane, who's a lecturer in psychology and early childhood education, and is also a regular contributor to Island AM, which apparently is another radio station that people listen to when they're not listening to
Erris
Erris
FM.
FM. I was shocked. Anyway, she'll be holding a workshop in support of children and teens with anxiety here at Erris Glora on the 1st of May at 7:30 p.m. And information of that yet again can be got here at Erris Glora, and yet again it will be put on our social media as well.
So the contact number for that is 097 81079.
Yes. It's also now we mentioned the gorse fire in between Ballycroy and Mulranny before. I think the Gardaí are on.
Well, we were talking about it before we came on air.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they were advising people now this morning to avoid the area. But I mean, how can you avoid the road between Mulranny, Ballycroy and Mulranny?
I'm heading.
Any bypass
I'm
roads?
heading up there now this evening myself.
Oh well, it'll be out by then. Geez.
Well, when
I doubt it
I've
very
heard
much.
that before.
bring a can of water with you just in case.
Oh well, we can always turn back.
And yeah, the gorse fire is on there. I didn't hear any news about it since, so there wasn't any accidents or anything like that. It's one of those things that happen. Now there's a Belmullet Festival bingo April 21st at the Rodhaven Bay Hotel as well, between 7 and 3. Single book will cost you €15, half a book €8, 10 extra sheets will cost you €10, and a jackpot sheets you get 5 or €3. And that's all I have for local news for now. Can you say we take a small break and we have a chat about the few things we mentioned about earlier on that we talked about later. So can you
Well, we mentioned about the access with IWA being run here lately. In fact, there was a big day here yesterday promoting the ideas and the essential needs for proper parking, and even in construction, building houses with proper access and whatnot. So we'll let Michael Estar have something to say about it. There we go.
Well, I've been courting Bridie for nearly 15 years. When she asked me to marry her, sure I broke down in tears. To show how much I loved her, to do the decent thing, I drove her up to Dublin to buy the wedding ring. First of all, the toll bridge was highway robbery. I'm glad I brought the flask with me, it saved me on the tea. And when I reached the jeweller's and parked outside the door, then from out of nowhere I heard a deafening roar. Hey, you can't park here, you can't park there. That's what I heard him say. I'm gonna have to clap you and you'll get towed away. I was looking for a car park, but I didn't have much luck. He said it was a lame excuse and he couldn't give up. Heading down O'Connell Street in the middle of the day, a guard that pulled me over and said, "This is one way." I pulled up on the footpath on a double yellow line. He opened up his notebook and he asked me, "Are you blind?" After 8 hours shopping, well, it began to rain. When I drove around by Stephen's Green, I nearly hit a train. Oh, my heart was palpitating and my nerves were shot to bits. I stopped outside McDonald's for a burger and some chips. Hey, you can't park here, you can't park here. That's what I heard him say. I'm gonna have to clamp you and you'll get towed away. I was looking for a car park, but I didn't have much luck. He said it was a lame excuse and he couldn't give up. Heading for Belmullet, I left the city far behind. Good old Bridie got her wedding ring and I got a parking fine. And when I told my story to the boys in McDonald's bar, they told me I should buy a bike and sell that car. Hey, you can't park here! You can't park here! That's what I heard him say. I'm gonna have to clamp you and you'll get towed away. I was looking for a car park, but I didn't have much luck. He said it was a lame excuse and he couldn't give up. Hey, you can't park here! You can't park here! That's what I heard him say. I'm gonna have to clamp you and you'll get towed away. I was looking for a car park, but I didn't have much luck. He said it was a lame excuse and he couldn't give up. Then he wished me and Bridie the very best of luck. Don't get it, Bridie, you can't park here, you can't park there. Get your coat, Bridie, we're going home.
Welcome back to Alternative Facts here on Erris Fm on 90.8 FM and on various social medias. And if you shout at Alexa, I'm sure she'll find it for you as well. We were talking a little bit earlier on about you were worried about the ambulance service, Eddie.
Yes, we were worried about the ambulance service, because an ambulance service is a very serious thing. So all you need to have is an emergency, a serious emergency, once for it to be disastrous. And what happened with the HSE, not just county-wide but countrywide, the ambulance here and there can be called anywhere at any time. And it happened in different times that the ambulance were away from here, maybe up somewhere, and we'd have to have an ambulance coming from Galway or from Roscommon or from maybe even Limerick or further afield. And it's not good enough for when somebody gets into trouble and in danger of losing their lives, that they haven't got an ambulance to bring them to the nearest hospital. Now, it must be said that the staff are not the ones to blame, and the vehicles are not bad, and the facilities are good, but there's not enough in the country. So I think our politicians should start listening to people like us back in the west coast of Ireland and in different places all over the country, in different counties, and listen to what is needed within the communities rather than what they perceive to be needed, or that their lobbyists or advisors or people, business-orientated people, tell them what to do. I think it's time for them to take a little listen to us on the field.
Well, that's it. Well, they went the private way about it, but the problem about the private way about it is they're limited as well. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, it has to be more expensive to have private companies running their ambulance service.
Well, I did hear one of the people who I think now runs one of the private ambulance services on another radio show. I have to admit, I do listen to other shows apart from Erris FM, and he was saying, he was talking about the hours that he put in as a private ambulance driver when he was, and I was actually frankly shocked at the amount of hours that he was allowed to do.
Yeah,
he was talking the way he was talking. I totted it up, and he was talking about 80 hours a week. And I'm slightly worried that if that's the way of the private sector,
it's dangerous.
Is found to work for 80 hours a week.
But it's dangerous to be on the road behind the wheels of a vehicle.
Behind the wheels of a vehicle
for 80 hours in a week.
Not fully alert.
Yeah,
fully alert.
No matter how much coffee you put into, it's not going to work.
I'm not saying that ambulance drivers here would not be fully alert, but it's possible. It happens.
Well, if you do 80 hours a week.
I had occasion to be transferred from Castlebar to Galway and back. And the VHI paid for it, and I saw the bill. It was 1,200, so that would be 600 each way.
Yeah.
Which
other insurance companies are available.
Yeah. No, sorry about that. Yeah, but I don't think that's excessive. price, considering what an
Well,
ambulance costs.
Well,
And
you have
the
a
wages.
driver and a nurse.
And a nurse, and
on
the vehicle itself. And the vehicle itself, I mean, they don't come cheap.
They don't come
So
cheap.
I don't see that as being excessive. But this problem goes back
Well,
to
if you got a taxi from here to Galway, what would it cost?
I don't
It
know.
would cost you maybe €300.
I would think it's more than that, but
Well, then an ambulance isn't
probably
it?
more, maybe 400.
But the problem, Eddie, I think is deeper than that. This goes back to this central system they have for central dispatch system for the whole country. And I think the head office is in Letterkenny.
It is, yeah.
But so they're looking at the availability of ambulances. If they get a call from where they look for the availability, the local one, fine. If not, the next nearest. But it depends on the guy that's dispatching. I think a lot of this. He
Well,
has
there can
to
be a
decide
problem.
where he can get one from.
well,
And the other thing in it is the ambulance has been out of service because they're parked outside a hospital that has a full casualty.
I think that is the main problem. Is
Waiting,
that so
waiting,
many-
so waiting.
No bed available.
People waiting to be taken off the
Taken
ambulance.
off the ambulance.
so
Yeah.
many,
They're
so
sitting
many
there,
ambulances are just sitting there.
They've been there for hours and hours at that
But
time.
the whole system needs an overhaul. The whole HSE needs an overhaul. Not just the ambulance service.
No, it's
Yeah,
it's,
but-
it's all
but
around.
it's-
like.
It's part of it, and it's interlinked with it, and these delays affect the ambulance service.
I mean, it's got to the stage where I know people who have worked in this industry, they've had to drive to Castlebar to take over because the shift of the previous person has finished. They have to get to Castlebar to take over looking after a patient in an ambulance so that the person who drove them to Castlebar Hospital can finish their shift and drive back to Belmullet.
Yeah, the driving bit back to Belmullet doesn't count.
But
Yeah.
like I said earlier on, Ken, is the accident and emergency service cannot always take the patient from the ambulance. Now, I remember going to an accident and emergency in Galway at around 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, and I got no attention. I had to sit in the waiting room until 4 o'clock in the morning to get attention because the place was flooded with patients.
Yeah.
So, kind of, the whole system needs to be rehauled.
Well, but I think you mentioned there also Limerick. There was the girl there a couple of years ago who died of sepsis.
Yeah.
And wasn't even diagnosed in the time. But I think a lot of these emergency centres are full of people that need not necessarily be there. You
Well,
with me?
there are a lot of people that are in
And-
beds in the hospitals in Castlebar and Galway that could be well transferred to
Yeah, but,
hospitals in Belmullet,
yeah,
to the
I-
place in Belmullet, and
I'm not-
provide more beds in Belmullet.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the people actually in beds. I mean people waiting in the accident and emergency. And the triage system, I think, a lot of them are just there, drank too much, did whatever. And of course, the nurse there, she kind of turned around and say, well, you're just drunk, feck off. If anything does happen, then she's responsible.
The,
So
the
it's-
day I'm talking about, the one there, it was for something simple. It was for an X-ray scan. There was nothing, no emergency in it.
Yeah.
But at Sinskill, that's the way it happened.
But yes, if you've got, I don't know, a percentage of your ambulances are out of operation because they're stuck outside a hospital, it does put pressure on the rest of the system. But I think that your concern about there only being one dispatch system, I think that's a little bit of a side issue, because you need to know where the nearest ambulance is, and you can't say, well, we only deal with ambulances from Mayo, Sligo, and Roscommon, and everybody else can go to hell, because that means that as you say, Westmeath might have an ambulance available to pick up. So it's got to be a national service.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that entirely.
But
But it's keeping that system up to date on the availability of ambulances. How is that? Is that working well, or is it
Well, I
not
think
working well?
Oh, well, I think like it's
they do know where it is. In fact, when in the recent storms, funnily enough, the ambulances were the only ones who could be a point of contact between some of the hospitals and the regional units, because there was no, with the phone lines down and with the internet down and mobile signals touch and go, it was actually the ambulances who could relay information backwards and forwards.
But a lot of the problems that really
But the
lie.
bureaucracy lays down rules. Just on that, I went by ambulance from here to Castlebar some years ago, and then we went through Cork and so on. And I said to the ambulance drivers, why? Because I never go that way, I always go the other way. And I asked the ambulance driver, why did they go? Because we're not allowed to go the other way. And we prefer to go the other, because it's much easier on the patient and on us driving. But they were not allowed to go through Mulroney.
That's through Mulroney, Newport.
Yeah. Which is a far better road.
But an awful lot of the problem is the pile up of ambulances at the hospitals waiting to get patients in. If you have 3 or 4 ambulances in a line waiting,
they're not picking up people.
So
James, whenever you go there, you see 3 or 4 ambulances outside.
The last time I was up in Castlebar, there was 4 outside and another one on the way around.
But guys, there was a time, and you didn't have to go to Castlebar or to Galway for a treatment. You could get it here in Belmullet.
Yeah,
so
but
kind of things. The system as it stands now needs more facilities and needs more staff.
Yeah, but it's not a new problem. This has been going on as long as there's been an ambulance service. I remember over 10 years ago, waiting, following a road traffic accident in the area. I wasn't involved. I was my wife was tending to the people who'd been in the accident, and we were waiting a couple of hours for an ambulance to turn up. The ambulance had actually come from Clifton.
Yeah, but then you have to go back to what
because
Eddie
all the local ones were doing something else.
We have to go back to what Eddie said earlier too. Like when he was in A&E, there was people there who didn't need to be there. Like I remember back in the 70s, I had a fall, cracked open my skull. I needed stitches.
Yeah.
And I was brought into Belmullet Hospital. Wound was cleaned, stitched, at home. When you go to a GP now, he has to send you to A&E.
Yes. Correct.
He can't do it.
Yeah, like I said,
especially with a head wound, because you don't know what.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, it doesn't have. That was in my case, it was a head wound, but there's people who've gone in with cuts on their hands.
Plus, one of the things that is stopping that. I mean, that was in my time too. You rarely went to Castlebar. Everything was done here in Belmullet. But one of the factors is insurance.
Oh yeah,
that's the main. That is the overriding
factor. Now.
Yeah.
If it gets sued, it's not covered.
Insurance controls everything that you do nowadays.
Yeah,
everything.
It's
if you go shopping, insurance controls it, because you have to have insurance on your car. The shop you go into has to have public liability. Everything. It's a full circle of insurance involved in everything.
Insurance can be funny. I'll give you an example. In my own job, on a new ferry we had in when I was up in Larne, and one of the engines, any of the engines could shut down and declutch just when you were manoeuvring to get alongside, because the exhaust temperatures went all out of balance. Anyway, the maker's man was there, and I said it to him. I said, "This is stupid," and we couldn't override it. So that and the gale of wind was a bad combination. But anyway, I said to the engine maker's man, I said, "Why do you do this? Why do you make a brilliant engine and then you fuck it all up with this lot?" Oh, he said, it's not us. I said, what do you mean? He says, the insurance. I said, fine. I said, but so then that means if we lose an engine coming alongside in a gale and we hit the quay wall and we smash up the ship in the quay wall, the insurance is going to be far more for that
Oh, yeah.
than if we lost an engine, just part of an engine.
But there you
So
go.
insurance
There
is
you
a
go.
funny,
It's
a funny,
insurance control.
it's in control, but it's actually making it harder for itself in a way.
Big business seems to be running the country at the moment. No matter what you do, it's orientated towards the big business people.
Yeah.
And for making profits. Look at that. Look at the housing crisis. And look at the ambulance, the whole HSC service. And look at the money that the heads of these government departments earn as well, as opposed to the salary that a frontline nurse or porter gets in the hospital. There's a big difference.
Well, in some ways, you see, the system works brilliantly. Where I work down in the Aran Islands, it's the best place in Ireland to have an accident or anything go wrong with you, because in 10 minutes you have a helicopter.
Yeah.
And you're in Galway, and they can't leave helicopters sitting on the ground.
Or in the air. More importantly.
I'd
You're
love to see
taken
them
out of
try
it straight
that.
away. So you're in, and it's a brilliant service. But unfortunately, it only applies to the Aran Islands. And
Well, the
other offshore
Aran Islands and other islands.
Offshore
around,
islands, yeah.
Those islands that are inhabited, still inhabited,
yeah.
not too many of them, I suppose.
Well, Turk and Boffin would be the same.
Are more as well.
And more. Well, they have a fairly sheltered run across. But it's there's no joined up thinking in the whole system, which applies to an awful lot of government agencies.
Yeah, but that's where you have the problems, because like every department has this manager for that, this manager for this manager, and there's no communication between them.
But the communication is lacking in as much as there's no communication between the top and the people on the ground.
And that's where the problems lie.
I mean, like local people can solve a lot of problems if they're only consulted, but they're not consulted.
Yeah, it's like back in the day, there was a time if there was a pothole in the road, one of the councilmen was sent out with a wheelbarrow full of whatever and filled it in. Now you have all the paperwork has to be done, and then health and safety at the plan of action, and you have to have one man filling it, one man watching them, and another one guiding traffic. So that's insurance. That's
again,
insurance again.
I'm not sure that you, by law, have to have somebody watching him do it, but you do have to have somebody.
But it's there.
You do have to have somebody watching the traffic.
You have somebody watching the traffic.
Three men have to go out to do filling that pothole.
There's a car coming, you have to move off.
Yeah, there you go. That's the way it is.
Well, you can go the other way too. I mean, again, I'll give an example of when I was deep sea. We had annual dry dockings and Lloyd surveys and this, but we were getting a job done, a survey job done on a watertight door, and this was in Geordieland, in Newcastle. We had 13 men involved. You had fitters, his mate, pipe fitter and his mate because pipes were over certain, electrician and his mate because there was electricity involved, and eventually you had an overseer. And when they'd done the door and did the job on the door, we, the ship's engineers, had to come along and redo it because everything was leaking. There was hydraulic oil. Anyway, a few years later, on the same ship, I was in Japan. We were doing the same thing in dry dock. 2 men did the job perfect. You have to touch it after. So there was, throwing people at a job isn't the answer.
No.
Throwing the right people at the job is the answer.
People in the right places at the right time. That is a problem, because I mean, no matter how you look at it, the HSE is understaffed in a lot of areas.
In a lot of areas, yeah.
The ambulance service
more so in the at the front line rather than.
And then they're overstaffed in the managerial.
I mean, there used to be a joke going around: who's the first man you hire for a job? The man to blame. And to me, not on the HSE, but in a lot of government departments, it's a pass the book situation. How can we pass this on to somebody else?
Well, the problem is that the first thing that the man to blame does is employ somebody to blame.
No, you get a consultant, and then you blame the
So you
consultant.
can't blame yeah, there's always somebody to blame anyhow.
As long as it's not within your realm.
But
an
I
outside
remember one
consultant
time
is
now
great.
when there were some community ambulances in this country.
Mhm.
They were worked and operated by local people.
Yes,
Mhm.
correct.
Now, I don't know whether that could have been a solution to the problem or not.
But
It's,
this,
You go back
it's,
to the problem of insurance.
it's,
Who's going to insure them?
well, it's what it goes back to is probably passing the buck, but no one is on somebody else on the job that himself up there should be doing.
Well, we're centralising a lot of things, and it's not for the better. Last night I had a call to my door. Two local gentlemen, they were going on with this petition that we're now handing over our water scheme to Irish Water.
What do you mean by water scheme? The local water
The local
scheme,
water
is it?
scheme is being taken over by
Irish Water, yeah.
No, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. Time will tell.
And what water scheme have you up there?
We had their own Tala water scheme. Yeah,
Your own
yeah.
private scheme?
It was a community scheme.
Yeah, community. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understood that there was community schemes nearly in all places nowadays.
Well, they're apparently being
They're all being
absorbed by,
subsumed into.
Some
Irish Water,
Irish Water, yeah.
who are, from what I hear and things, are overworked already.
they're all overworked.
Well, there's plenty of water in Carramore Lake. It won't run dry.
Yes, but getting it out to Lexod and halfway to Ballynaz, another day's work. But we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah.
I suppose yet again this is partially driven by the threat of insurance.
And yeah,
Who is going to be responsible if these local community schemes have a problem?
Yeah, it's
At least if it's a large organisation, it can cover its insurance costs more effectively that way. I mean, if you look at, I don't know if it still happens, but London Transport at one time had its own insurance company for its buses because it was cheaper for them to cover their own insurance rather than pay an insurance company to do it for them.
and why,
because they had so.
why did they change?
I don't know if they still. It might still be there. I'm not sure.
Or somebody saw a way of making more money for themselves? Possibly.
well, it's
Keep it
funny,
in house.
during the war
Keep
when
it
we
in-house.
were,
I mean, they might still have it in house. I'm just talking about 20 years ago.
Well, it makes sense that they would have. A company like London Bus should have their own insurance, or could have their own insurance.
I suppose it might have fallen apart when they privatised or hived off various bits of the bus services. But
Well,
yes, before it was privatised, they did have their own
sold routes
insurance.
out to private companies, didn't they?
during the war, when the company I served my time with, Irish Shipping, were formed to feed the country, their insurance costs were astronomical.
Mhm.
So they started an insurance company for marine insurance,
Mhm.
and it was booming. It became massive. And of course, being a national company, the government took it over,
Screwed it right up.
turned it into the Irish Insurance and then sold it. So
Like they did for all other state-run organisations that we had as we grew up.
Mhm.
which was a shame, really, because it was making lots of money. But there you go. So, will we have a little bit more
Yes.
Of music.
music?
We can do this. We'll take a break and we'll go with Michael John Ruddy with The Ramblings of Spring.
There's a piercing northern breeze blowing through the budding trees, and I button up me coat to keep me warm. But the days are on the mend, and I'm on the road again, with my fiddle snuggled close beneath my arm. I've a fine felt hat and a strong pair of brogues. I have rosin in my pocket for me, oh, and my fiddle strings are new, and I learn a tune or two, and I'm well prepared to ramble and must go. I'm as happy as a king when I catch a breath of spring, and the grass is growing green as winter is, and the geese are on the wing, and the thrush she starts to sing, and I'm headed down the road to meet some friends. I've a fine felt hat and a strong pair of brogues. I have rosin in my pocket for me, oh, and my fiddle strings are new, and I learned a tune or two, and I'm well prepared to ramble and must go. I have friends in every town as I ramble up and down, making music at the marts and the fairs, to the donkeys and the creels, and the farmers making deals, and the yellow-headed tinkers selling wares. I've a fine felt hat and a strong pair of brogues. I have rosin in my pocket for me, oh, and my fiddle strings are new, and I learn a tune or two, and I'm well prepared to ramble and must go. Here's health to one and all, to the big and to the small, to the rich and poor alike and foe friends. And when I return again, may our foe have turned to friend, and may peace and joy be with you until then. I've a fine felt hat and a strong pair of brogues. I have rosin in my pocket for me, oh, and my fiddle strings are new, and I learn a tune or two, and I'm well prepared to ramble and must go.
Well, welcome back to Erris FM, and that was Michael John Ruddy with the Rambles of Spring, just for your entertainment. So
to give us a little breather.
Yes. So in the past week or two, we've had the passing of two icons of sport. Recently, actually today, he was being buried. Mick Maguire of Kerry. Of those of you who are in Gaelic football, but know of his prowess and both as a manager and a player. So he was buried today at 88, which is a good age. The other one was last week. He was a bit younger, and Eddie Jordan, their Jordan Racing,
Mhm.
Formula One Racing, who started out as a bank clerk and worked his way up to being
World
a very
champion.
influential. Well, I don't think he made world champion, but he
Yeah.
was very influential in F1 racing. So there's two.
A sport I could never get into.
Nor me, but nevertheless,
He was quite influential in the sport in his own way. He did remarkable things with next to no money. And he proved that it's a sport where not the small man, but the medium-sized man can still actually do something. Whether he'd be able to do it now or not, I'm not sure, but
yeah, and
he defied all logic.
he did. And he introduced a lot of more famous drivers to the
Oh
sport.
yes, he was very good
Schumacher
at
and-
picking people.
He seemed to have an eye for talent.
But he did most of his driving on a track, not on the roadways.
Well, he
Did
didn't. He did do some driving before he became famous, but he was famous actually for running a team rather
Jordan,
than Jordan Racing.
Right, Jordan Racing, yeah.
And he proved that, given the right will, I suppose, you can actually do far more than you thought you could.
Yeah, and he was quite a wealthy man in the end too. He sold the Jordan Racing
And
eventually.
then went into property. And made a lot of money in that.
Yeah. So he.
So he was a good businessman as well as a driver.
Oh, he was. He was
yeah.
probably. In fact, he'd be a far better businessman than he was driver.
I don't think he did very much as a driver at all.
And I wonder, do you have to have a kind of a business intellect to become a good sports person?
Well, in the position that he took up, yes.
It's what he took
Yeah.
up, yeah.
Well, his job at running and building a company, yes. I mean, building a company, building a racing team.
He was the
Same
CEO
thing.
that mattered. Like that's what he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. How about the likes of our Mick O'Dwyer?
Well, to be honest, he proves that you do need managerial skills to bring on a team, because he brought on teams that were firing on no cylinders. Like you had Leash and you had Kildare, like they weren't doing anything, and then he comes along.
There's no doubt about
and
it.
he turned them into.
The manager is very important to it.
But he proved that there are managers out there that can do it no matter where they go.
Yeah.
And he was one.
Yeah, he was definitely one.
But I remember Mick O'Dwyer as a footballer.
Yeah.
And it annoys me to see the likes of Mick O'Dwyer, old games of Mick O'Dwyer, Paddy Sheehan, and different people, and to compare to today's game is absolutely nauseating. Today's game.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And times Mick O'Dwyer, if you got anywhere near the 40 line,
No, but one of the beauties.
a point was on the cards.
Yeah, but one of the beauties of the introduction of the new rules into the GAA, it is bringing back that footballers will have to bring back them skills.
Bring back what?
Bring back the skills of a long range shot and whatnot.
But they're not doing that, James.
But they are now.
Yeah.
It's getting more present in the games now.
It's more like soccer than it ever was.
Well, no,
before.
they're still holding the ball in their hands.
Huh?
Well, talking of soccer,
I mean, how many times do you see a ball going from the 14 yards out to centre field? I mean, they call it recycling. We'll send it out and try and come in again.
Yeah, but at least now with the extra point score that you can get from distance, that at least they're trying now, whereas they weren't.
This year has changed.
It has changed. It has changed.
And you have the likes of David Clifford, and you likes of the Phil and Gold. What do you call the Battle of Gold? You got the 3 2-pointers there in the recent game. I mean, there's a few footballers like that are trying.
Yeah, but
the
thing is, you see, the managers weren't allowing players to take them shots. If anything, they got into trouble when they took those long range shots. They wanted you to play in because they wanted the goal chance and a positive kick. Whereas at long range, it's not a positive kick. Not the way they play. But now that new game is there now, they are going to, if they want to, especially a weaker team, if they can play up to the 3/4 and not get a score, well then they develop their long kick game.
But I can't see why it's beneficial for any team to play the kind of football they're playing nowadays.
Well, you can blame it on Kerry.
Hmm?
They started off with the short
Well,
hand
I
pass.
don't know.
They started the hand pass system back in the
I would blame
80s.
the Dubs for that more
And-
so than Kerry.
No, it's,
Kerry, no, you can't. You don't blame Kerry for it.
oh yeah,
No, you blame when you man up to your own Michael Hart.
no.
He was the one that
He was later
introduced
on.
that. And Jim McGuinness.
He
from
was later.
Donegal
It was
came
the
in
short
behind
pass.
it.
The short pass was
Down.
introduced in the 80s, for God's sake.
Well,
You know.
Mick O'Dwyer's, I was listening to stuff about him on the radio there. His idea was that he trained the team to be fit and fast.
Yeah.
And once they went on the pitch, that was it. They were,
Yeah.
and he actually went to Manchester United and Liverpool to watch their training, to learn their training tactics.
Training is
And-
one
and
thing.
That was
Training is one
his,
thing.
his thing.
No, but
his
tactics
training.
is
but
another
one,
thing.
Well, the
no,
tactics,
but,
no,
no, but
the
one, with
training.
him, it was in not essentially tactics. With him was
Speed.
developing those players and letting them use the skills they had,
Yeah.
not tie them down to a system.
Yeah.
And that's what he did with teams.
Yeah, but for any team that can score long range points,
No, but the thing is, you take Mick O'Dwyer again. What he did, he had to, like, Leash played out from the back, and he let them do it because that was within their strengths. But they still went for long range kicking,
yeah.
and that was the difference. He used the two styles of football that you're on about now and amalgamated them and developed teams with that sort of playing. So, like, you can't put one system against the other, especially when you put two together and it works as one. You know, so. But the introduction now of the extra
What are you
points,
saying? We'll have 10 minutes of hand passing and 10 minutes of kicking.
no,
That'll be the host.
that hasn't happened at all. That hasn't happened in any game this season. No.
Oh, it's
It
90
happened-
minutes
it
of
happened- it
hand
happened-
passing and 10 minutes of
It happened in the league final with Kerry and Mayo. I mean, at times they went boom, 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 and scored points, and other times they went hand passing around midfield.
They thought they were playing basketball.
They both did the same thing.
But even back in the day, you had games like that. Not every game was exciting like what you're saying. There was an awful lot of games I remember
There was
watching
good-
in
there-
the
there was-
80s and 90s. Jeez,
There was
you
good, there
wouldn't.
was good competition in the games. In
Well, way back
old game.
in the times Eddie was talking about,
Mm.
which I used to follow Gaelic football back then before it became a
Yeah, but it was a
handball
different.
game.
But it was a different.
Down, I think, were the
yeah.
first team that I ever saw that
John had tactics, yeah. But when,
Yeah, but the one thing they didn't have, they did not have the.
between the two 50s.
But they didn't have the fitness that
played
they
the
have
whole
today.
field.
They didn't have the fitness that they have now. They didn't have the science of the sport that they have now. It was completely different football. Like when I went out playing football when I was a teenager, up into my early 20s, we were still playing the same styles. Different games, different styles. It would depend on who you were playing against. If you have two teams that are going to negate each other on the play systems that they play, then you have to change the system. It's like what Everton did in the soccer against Liverpool. No, but it's like what Newcastle did with Liverpool. They played the long ball.
Leave the
Liverpool couldn't
system
take
as it
them.
was. Change your tactics.
My God, you'll never teach an old dog new tricks.
I think Eddie's
You
looking
wouldn't
with
know,
the
maybe
adva-
the old tricks are much better than the new ones.
Well, not necessarily.
I think you're looking with the advantage of rose-coloured spectacles.
Yeah,
there.
well, a
My
wider open
spectacles
game.
are quite clear.
A wider open game back in the day.
Hmm.
It's no such thing as an open
Now,
game anymore.
you fellas trying to tell me that between the 250s and the Gaelic pitch have been passing the ball to and fro.
So
That-
so
that
so
is-
you
That
you
is good competition.
so you want to take them from the halfback, kick it as far as you can, and hope
Hit
the
and
next
hold.
man gets it. But if the other fella gets it, he's going to kick it back out to us. So we get another chance to kick it back in again. That's not football
No, but
either.
we kind of said, I mean, the competing for the ball that goes
Yeah,
in
but that's
like
it.
that.
But that's been able to-
That's where the game.
No, but being able to carry a ball is more of a skill than fielding.
Playing soccer is a different thing.
Carrying the
you
ball-
have to get goals in soccer.
Carrying the ball
can
is
win a
better.
game. You can win a game by scoring points in Gaelic football.
But even
And by scoring a long range point, to me, is a skill.
It's
that-
no, but it's
that
a
is
skill.
lacking in
No,
a
but
lot
it's,
of
it's a
people.
skill, but there's not many can do it.
Yeah, well, I like to watch skill on the football.
Yeah,
field.
but even back in the day, not all the midfielders
not
and
play
half
acting.
no, but not all the midfielders and half forwards were taking long range shots. They were passing it to the man that could do it, and this is why you had big
Or
stars.
not passing
Yeah,
to the man.
like
who-
you take Jimmy Keaveney. They got the ball to Jimmy Keaveney for Dublin every time. And I remember one game he scored 23 points and two or three goals. But that's because
he didn't score the ball
But
from
he
the
had
14-yard
but
line.
he had the skill. That was
Yeah.
the difference. Not everyone has that skill. So what you have to do, you have to play the game with the skills that you have. So where do you
You
go
have
if
to
you
do-
don't have them?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Pick out?
You do the best with the skills you have and try and change the skills.
Yeah, but you
have.
can't just pick a man that can kick a dead ball and not be able to do any other thing in the game.
What's the dead ball got to do with it?
That's your long range kick.
Huh?
That's your long range kick.
Oh,
That's basically what you're saying is
there's
get the ball in the open and take a long shot.
Kicking
Doesn't
a dead
work.
ball anywhere now.
Does not work.
When you get a free now, all you ever do is go on a solo.
No, but can you tell me that back in the day when you were watching football, every single game was exciting
It was.
as that? No, it wasn't. You had a short spell
It
of
was
every
more-
game.
It was more exciting
A
than
short
watching the games I watched on television.
A
today.
short
I
spell.
think you did. It's nauseating to watch them.
Well, there's a cure for that.
Yeah.
Turn off the TV.
There is an off button.
I don't turn off the TV. I just walk out of the room.
No, but like going back to Mick O'Dwyer. Mick O'Dwyer mixed all the skills that each player
he
had.
lost the argument. He wants to go back.
No, I didn't. It's just that
Nick O'Dwyer was a long
It's
range
just-
kicker.
it's just
and
that-
he was a good long range kicker.
Yep.
You would see that ball like it.
all right.
whizzing off
All right.
his-
So you say
but-
he was a long range kicker. There was very little long range kickers with Kildare when he managed them. He used the skills they had. And he was a long range kicker. If he was as tied down to that style of football, why didn't he tie that into every team he had?
You never saw Kildare passing between the two 50
Oh, yes.
lines.
Yes, I have.
For 10 minutes.
Yes, I have.
Not at all.
And for a long time they've been doing it.
I mean, this is a similar argument than that they had in rugby, as to whether you should kick or whether you should run the ball through to the try line. And I had a friend who played in a team where if you actually kicked, you had to then stop and do 10 press ups.
Yeah, but like
the match.
But like in rugby, there was a time in rugby where every manager would tell you, if you get the open, go for the drop goal.
Yeah.
But that doesn't exist
That
anymore.
doesn't exist anymore. And one of the best games we ever saw was with your man O'Gara scoring a drop goal.
That
And-
wasn't.
and the last kick of the game.
That was an exciting minute.
An exciting
An
last
An exciting
minute.
minute, not a game.
Hmm?
A minute.
It was the exciting last minute of a match.
Yeah.
And how, would
It
it,
won the Triple Crown and it won the
how would it be if you had a lot of those exciting minutes?
But that's why that's remembered.
Not necessarily
Yeah.
from one team or from both teams.
To me, a game of football is boring as hell if you have one or two men in the midfield grabbing it every time and kicking for score.
The present game of football is designed to have keep the score close together so you can have a penalty shootout.
Not at all.
That's what the
Not
present
at all.
game is like.
There
Yeah.
doesn't that many draws happen in Gael.
Our team
it's-
has the ball now. We'll go forward now to see if we can score a point. If we don't, then the other team will come forward and try and score a point here. It's point for point for point for point. And it comes to maybe 16 points each at the end of the game.
That's what
You go to
exactly.
extra
But
time,
that's what you're going to
and then
have if
eventually
you
you
have
go
a couple of
to
men in
18
midfield
points
kicking
each.
long range,
Hmm.
because that's all it's going to be. It'd be like watching tennis, the ball going back and
And
forward, back and forward.
There's nothing worse than to give up a game on a penalty shootout.
well, that's
That's
in
soccer.
That's becoming a
Yeah.
thing too.
That's soccer.
It's not
Agree
a
with
nice
Eddie
thing,
in a
though.
way.
It's not a nice thing to see a
It's
team
not- and-
losing on a penalty
nowadays
shootout.
with soccer teams, I mean the top class ones, they all seem to be afraid to shoot at goal.
Well,
They'll pass it back, they'll pass it here, they'll pass it there. But I know the tactics. You're waiting to get it.
yeah, but they have the problem they have with that is the managers don't want, and they don't want to be. But then players themselves don't want to make that mistake of losing the chance of a score because the manager at the end of the day says, "Why didn't you pass it inside?"
We were talking earlier
No.
in about civil service
Yeah.
responsibility
Mhm.
of missing rather than scoring.
Yeah.
is frightening these people.
Yeah, but you get players that do that
Oh, the
now in
abuse
soccer.
that they get, yes.
Yeah, exactly. That comes across. But they won't take the chance because they don't want to be the ones who are ridiculed and dropped off the team next week.
More importantly,
Yeah.
they don't want the attacks on the social media.
Yeah, big style. It's amazing how much social media has taken over the control of a lot of things outside of sport as well. Like, but I suppose everyone has their opinion on sports, but
Even me.
Eddie is still wrong.
Yeah? how would you do with the likes of that fellow now?
Always is me last day.
You're entitled to your opinion even when it's wrong.
Exactly.
He's not even jumping the gun now. He's shooting the gun.
Oh, jeez, double barrel.
Well, just on the national thing before we
What, the Grand National?
we come to that too.
No.
But I just go back to my old hobby horse a bit here, fishing industry.
Mhm.
I've been down in Galway for the last week in Rossaville, which was supposed to be a major fishing port, and to see the Irish boats tied up, not allowed fish on the Porcupine Bank, which is the richest fishing ground in Europe,
Yeah.
way west of us, stopped by our own government.
Oh, yeah.
Only Irish boats, Spaniards, French, Dutch, the rest are all reaping away out there. And one boat there, registered in Northern Ireland, owned by an Achill man, fishing away Goodo, because he's not registered in Ireland. It
for
just
God's
shows you.
Oh,
that-
he's registered in
Yes.
Northern Ireland.
Yeah. And he can fish away in the Grand Banks or on the Porcupine for all year round.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Irish boats, all the boats from Tower Head were over there fishing. No April.
But you don't have to go to Rossaville for it.
It's crazy.
Both back in Black Sod are tied up as well, aren't they?
But they're not
They-
for a different.
They diversified into sea trips and things like that.
Some of them, yeah, but they're still fishing what they used to fish. The
Crabs and
crab
lobster.
and lobster, but I
Crabs,
think there's
lobster,
restrictions
prey,
there.
yeah.
But it just shows the farcical regulations,
Mhm.
and fine if they stopped everyone fishing.
But we gave
just to stop Irish
we
boats.
gave away.
Oh, we
our
gave it away.
waters.
Yeah, we gave it away.
In when we joined the EU, it was
Mhm.
1975 we gave it
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
Was it 75?
Yeah, I think it was 75.
72 or 75.
Around that time.
Around
We gave away the fishing waters for farming.
Yeah.
And now what good is farming?
Well, we joined the EU, 72, was it?
Maybe it was 72, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. 72. Oh yeah, sure. We as I often say, the negotiator, the advisor, the head of BIM at the time was Kevin O'Kelly, and he was over with the late Patrick Hillary. Here he was the Minister for Foreign Affairs, he was the chief negotiator. And
Brian Lenihan was the minister at the time. They gave away the
he was,
the fishing
but
water, wasn't
We see a lot.
Hillary was in charge of the delegation.
We see a lot of money
And
was
he
promised
sent-
to it with
He-
the agriculture.
He sent Kevin O'Kelly home.
He sent him home.
Sent him home. Got him out of the building because he was objecting to the what they were doing with the fisheries.
But that's what they were.
That says it all.
Yeah, but they were making big deals in agriculture, weren't they, at the time?
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
that was the main export in their eyes. So
Hillary was involved in a few mistakes in those days.
Well, the issue there was that
didn't play.
every constituency has got farmers.
So they
Not
didn't play.
every constituency has got a fishing fleet.
So they didn't play the long ball. Is that what you're saying?
No, but we had enough fishing boats. Like Ted was saying, our fishing boats are now tied up at the
It's
pier
sad
Yeah,
to see.
but-
because the
Very sad to
quota is reached. And they
Yeah.
can't-
But as I
they
say,
can't fish
it was given away because there weren't enough constituencies who gave a damn about the fishing.
If you go to Killybegs there at the moment, there's
To the amount of boats that were decommissioned in Killybegs.
but
really?
all the Irish boats tied up, but the Norwegians, the British, the Faroese, the Icelanders,
Mhm.
they're landing nearly 10,000 ton of
my God.
blue whiting a day into Killybegs, and the Irish boats tied up, can't move.
That's wrong.
It's
Not only that, but there was a time, I don't know whether it's still prevalent or not, where big trawlers out there, what they was termed as a bycatch, or
Mhm.
maybe catch mackerel,
Yeah.
and the quota for mackerel might be finished. They just dump them.
Yeah, we see. Well, what's happening is because, like all those countries that are landing fish in Ireland, the EU will turn around and say, "Well, Ireland still is dealing fish," but it's not the Irish fishermen
illegal
who's
for them
doing
to
it.
catch fish
That's
out
the
there.
problem.
The only thing that's illegal for them to land the fish in Ireland. So they
Mhm.
go down to Europe, down to Africa
Mhm.
with the fish. The big
Yeah.
trawlers, a lot of them go to Africa with the fish they catch off our coast here.
Uh-huh.
While
Oh,
our
yeah.
own fishermen, like Ted say, are sitting.
But there was
tied up
even,
and down.
you know, ever since we joined the EC, there's been nothing but stupidity. Is a kind word to use. And you had an instance shortly after we joined the EC, the cod and the haddock and whiting.
Mhm.
We had a better quota then than now, and the market was down at the time. So the Irish boats, they were allowed to catch it. They brought it in, Dunmore East mainly, and the thing. Fishery inspector came down, sprayed it with dye. They went back out, dumped it, went fishing again, came in with another load. The same thing. Now, anyone would
Dump the fish.
dump the fish. Anyone with a bit of anything up there,
Mhm.
it would have been cheaper to tie the boats up then and
Yeah.
just give them the subsidy rather than
Yeah,
go catch
yeah,
the fish
yeah.
and dump all this fish
Oh God
and
Almighty.
reload. You know, there was no
There was no thinking in it at all, was there?
thinking, none whatsoever.
Again,
I mean,
people-
all that coincided with the Cod Wars, 1976. It all sort of happened around the same time. I mean, there was
Yeah.
accession into the EEC as it was, and then everybody losing their rights in Atlantic or Icelandic waters.
But they call it Irish waters, and you're
But
not
the
allowed to fish it.
The
That's the
Icelandics
problem.
held on to their own waters.
Yeah, they were the ones
And the
who
Norwegians.
they
And the
were the ones
Norwegians,
who
yeah.
actually instituted the 200-mile limit, because
Mm.
prior to that there was no 200-mile limit.
Yeah.
It was I think it was 3 miles.
12, 50,
Mhm.
and then 200.
Depended
they
on
said-
the area.
But we even give up Rockall, didn't we?
Nobody's given up rock. It's still
Rock on, rock on.
Rockall is not our waters anymore.
I don't know. No.
It's debatable, but we don't push it. We let them away with it.
We want to be nice people, nice and
Yeah, we are, yeah. But still, we have boats tied up in the piers. Doing
Then when they
nothing.
discover oil there, they
accept
say,
it.
"Oh well,
Be popular. What the
we
heck?
didn't know that." But nevertheless, that's the situation. So
But that got us away from Mickey Dwyer. Poor Mickey Dwyer.
Yeah.
Very
very today.
I think Mickey Dwyer was
Oh, he was a genius.
a class A1
Yeah.
footballer.
The Class
And
A1
manager.
manager.
And
Yeah.
he gave us a lot of entertainment on through the
He
years
did, he did.
when we were growing up. And he was,
Yeah, but there's not many who can take it off the
When
pitch
football
and
was
put it back
football.
on the pitch. And
Yeah,
he did.
Thanks. Just hit that again.
When football was
Was
football.
Oh my God, here we go again. Huh?
No, James. Did you hear that?
Waldorf and Stadler.
When football was football.
Do you know why Mayo haven't won in our Ireland? They haven't played the long ball in 30, 40 years.
Who?
Well, according to you, Mayo. But the thing is, when Donegal beat Donegal beat Dublin, what did they do? They played it out from the back, chipped it over, and they went for short scores. And what did they do? They bet Dublin.
The winning point came from the sideline. 40 yards.
You see,
out.
there you
I
go.
remember
Go
the winning
again.
point.
One instant. That
And
one
the
instant.
red-haired
he's
Donegal
picked- oh
man
my God!
scoring that
You
from-
forget
from-
about the
from-
rest
from
of the
the
game,
line,
don't you?
from
Just
the
that
sideline.
minute.
But
That's
that
all you can
was-
remember.
That was the day when footballers could score from different angles.
No, I'll agree
and
with you there.
different distances.
There was
Now,
was more
nowadays,
skill.
They have to get under the 14-yard line to put it wide.
Yeah, well, it's not down to the players. The
Or
players, a lot of
punch
players can do it, but
punch it over the bar.
managers won't allow it. They want them to play that
Did
style
you
of
ever see
football.
Mickey Dwyer punching a ball over the bar?
No, but I've seen them
You
punch a
never
man
did.
a few times.
Or Jimmy Keevan. Or the man from Cavan. What was the fellow from Cavan? Was it?
It mustn't have been that important. We don't
He
remember.
was, he was a darn good footballer.
It's almost like being at the funeral.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
The funeral of the GAA football game. It is now what it is now is Gaelic soccer.
No, but when you think about how many changes has
It's
the
not
GAA
Gaelic
gone
soccer.
through?
Soccer is is actually football.
But how many changes
But
have they
it's
gone
like
through in the
Gaelic,
last 20
basketball
odd
or
years?
something.
How many changes have the GAA gone in the style of football in 20 odd
Oh,
years?
I gave up watching
Yeah.
Gaelic football 20, 30 years ago.
It did
And,
change an awful lot.
My concern is that the hurling should be taken off them before they make a hames of that as
They'll
well.
probably make games of that as well.
Wouldn't
the
be surprised.
hurling is one of the best games.
Oh,
in
It's
the
the
stop.
best
world.
games in the world to watch.
It is the
And-
best game in the world to watch. Definitely.
It's
Even
that we agree on
even a
something.
lot of Americans are saying that now because it's got very big televised over there.
Oh, they think their hockey is better.
No, they don't. When they see a good hurling game, they know what the game is.
Well,
Or what do they call it in Scotland? Shinty, is it?
Gente. I did
I've seen
a
a few English lads that I know
Yeah.
that have watched the hurling match with me, and they couldn't believe the speed.
well, I did a weekend
skill.
camp. I did a weekend
And
camp.
that they're amateurs.
And,
Can they score long range points?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But in the
I mean,
80s,
that's what the game is all about.
in the 80s, I did a camp in Wicklow. It was a hurling camp. And I tell you, after that weekend, I said I'd never touch a hurling again. I got battered black and blue. I'd never played the game before.
No
in my
more than
life.
you deserved.
Oh,
Well,
you're right there. I shouldn't have been on the pitch.
My introduction to hurling was I was in Cork at the time. We were going to the Tech at the time there. We represented Cork in the Gaelic and the technical schools,
Mhm.
football and hurling. So I played on the football team as goalkeeper, and then suddenly one day there was a panic in the school. Tipperary had come to place in hurling, and they hadn't got a hurling team.
Oh, jeez.
So someone of the teachers said, "Right, we'll put the football team out and we'll give them hurleys." So I was landed, and all in the same positions. I was in goal, right, and I was coming out of the dressing room to go onto the pitch, and one of our own players swinging this hurley got me there under the nose, knocked me out. I didn't even make it to the pitch. And that was my
That's what
only,
that's what you call full contact game.
and one of my own.
That's
one of the enemy.
where the skill was missing.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you,
I didn't see it
that
coming,
weekend
Eddie.
I had no
Oh, yeah.
skill at all.
I in my whole life I played one hurling game.
Yeah, well, I did
I don't
one
know
weekend.
whether I hit the ball once or twice.
Oh no, I was rubbish, absolute rubbish, and I had the bruises to prove it.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, McIlroy, I hope he rests in peace and
Ah,
I hope that his type of football will prevail in the country
Oh, yeah.
for
back
years to
again.
come.
Well, the one thing and it is for sure a pure legacy.
Yeah,
Pure legacy.
It was great to watch him. Not only McIlroy, but there were other people now. Kind of like Paddy Sheehy, he was a carrying man.
That
as
era,
well.
people in that era, yeah.
And kind of says that there were other players in Dublin, and the Down were good.
Down had a great team.
Yeah. And kind of here in Mayo, we had good footballers here as well.
Oh my God, great fielders.
Great. I mean,
Great
when you
fielders.
think of the last time Mayo won the All Ireland, 51, the players that were around then.
I think the last day they played now, Kerry, I think what was it? Four it was either 4 or 5 in a row that they lost their own field.
Yeah.
Yeah. From the kick out they lost it 4 or 5 times in a row. They couldn't get the control of the game at all.
Yeah, and Galway had a good team.
A great team.
Yeah.
Team to watch now for the year.
Some very good players.
Could be a good championship, yeah. We don't know.
Anyway,
Well,
shall we have a bit of
okay.
music?
Yes, and then we'll get on to our
Yes, well, we're
World
going to play for you.
affairs.
Here's a
Ted's
little bit.
favourite subject.
We'll settle the affairs of the world.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Here's Chantal Padden and Tony Galway. Let's hope you enjoyed this one.
Imagine a world with then you've seen a picture of me without you.
Have you walked in a garden where nothing was growing? Stood by a river where nothing was flowing? If you've seen a red rose unkissed by the dew, then you've seen a picture of me without you.
Can you picture heaven with no angels singing, or a quiet Sunday morning with no church bells ringing? If you watched as the heart of a child breaks in two, then you've seen a picture of me without you. Can you picture heaven with no angels singing, or a quiet Sunday morning with no church bells ringing? If you watched as the heart of a child breaks in two, then you've seen a picture of me without you. Ooh.
Then you've seen a picture of me without you.
Welcome back to Erris FM and Alternative Facts here on 90.8 FM and on YouTube, Facebook, and Alexa. Call Alexa. Yes. That was Chantal and Tony singing a little song for us. But now we're going to go on to world events. And I think we cannot avoid, we've been doing it for 3 or 4 weeks. We've avoided mentioning the name, but we cannot avoid Mr. Trump and his tariffs.
There will be no tariffs here on Alternative Facts on Erris FM.
Oh, we're saved. We're saved. We're saved. We're on next week, lads.
We don't have to pay
That's what
tariffs.
you call timing.
Well,
why didn't you keep him on there for a while so we talked to him?
Oh, he's too busy.
Busy.
Creating more tariffs.
Ah,
Busy
well,
playing
sure,
golf.
yeah.
He's busy playing golf.
He is these days, yeah.
I suppose in the spirit of truth, which we try and look after here, that wasn't actually Mr. Trump. We have to thank our good friend Tony for.
Do you have to be so truthful?
You know, you didn't have to say it. We could have got away with that, you know.
We could have, yeah.
You know, inside
but-
contact.
Well, he gets away with it with so many lies, so why not us?
Why not us? Yeah.
Well, he does enough for us as well.
Well, see, he has to get away with lies because he tells so many of them.
Well, we do the alternative facts. He does the alternative rants,
Yes.
basically.
Well, the tariffs come in today.
Yes.
20% on all European goods going.
Do they actually get it come into force
10%
today?
today, 10% today, and the rest is coming in.
They're still allowed to negotiate, aren't we?
Well,
There's no
that's why
negotiation until there's negotiation.
That's why the 10% has been paid from today.
So
Said it like it goes up to the 20 over a period of time, isn't it?
In a week's time or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
unless we negotiate.
Unless there's a
some-
negotiation
some-
further, yeah.
He did say the Chinese were quick off the mark. They brought
Mhm.
it in the 30.
Well,
whatever.
he said they
37%.
panicked. He said
He says they panicked.
He didn't.
They
They didn't panic.
panicked.
He put a 37% tariff on them, so they put a 37%.
Terrifying.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, so
back.
they called us bluff, in other words.
Yeah, but
But what was he implying by the panic? Did he say they should have waited and talked to me about it rather than
probably.
imposing?
I'd say more than likely, yeah.
More
Come
than
out for a game of golf with me and we'll sort it out.
Is that what he's looking for the whole world to consult him about things?
No, he just
Oh,
wants
he
to
likes be the
control.
he likes to be the center of attraction. But I think it's the first time I've seen almost the whole world pulling together against America, which is most unusual.
But I'd say he wasn't expecting that either.
I don't think I think there was a conquer and divide.
Well, he knew there was going to be some, but not
was
the way
hoping-
everyone is.
But in fact, it's going to.
It's an awful way to work with the world
Yeah,
in conflict.
Well, I mean,
in friendship.
telling the lies, the big lie, of course, is that the rest of the world stole American jobs. The
But I
rest of the
think
world did not steal American jobs. American capitalism moved the jobs out of America to low wage.
Yeah, but I think Paul used the phrase deflection at one time about Trump, where he does one thing to harm a certain section of his country, and it's hitting the news, but then he comes back and he hits with something else. So that's forgotten about, and they go ahead with fighting against another thing.
Is he creating a problem now that he will solve later on?
No, I think he won't
does
solve
he want to have
Well, what do you
the
reckon, Paul?
credit of solving the problem?
I feel that he's actually bitten off more than he can chew this time, because slowly, even senior Republicans, a couple of them, are beginning to come out and question whether this is the right thing to do. But more importantly, as in particular America knows, money talks, and the money is talking very much against Trump.
But the markets dropped before
the
any
markets,
introduction.
the markets have gone down 5% in the past week on the,
and that's before the tariffs.
On the strength of the tariffs. Well, and we'll have to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But there have been delegations of people going to Mar-a-Lago to say, something has to change. Apparently, one of the big tech companies had 200 million wiped off its, which I suppose in real terms is not an awful lot. But there's one of the social you were talking about the world uniting. One of the social commentators on social media said, given that 4.25% of the world's population lives in the United States, this might be the moment for the other 95.75% to leave them to it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's beginning to happen. And another thing there in that has a lot of influence in America is the big arms companies.
Yeah.
And Portugal has pulled out. They've cancelled their orders for
That's right. Yes, they've changed what they're going to
Canada are now pulling out and changing to their order for new fighter aircraft.
Well,
and this is going to bite.
But they've also told Trump that they will no longer have armed support from Canada.
Well, but more importantly, I think, than Trump's the tariffs and things like that, the statements that he's made must have had the defense industry crying, because he said that we don't sell the top rate stuff. We keep that for ourselves. Well, that's not a really good marketing ploy.
No,
and more importantly, people are worried that you're not going to be able to get the spares. So would you spend billions of dollars upgrading your Air Force to find that you can't fly it because you can't get hold of the spares because the man in charge of the country where you bought them says no?
Mm.
Yeah.
An awful lot of people are moving over to, thinking of moving from McDonnell and companies like that to European-based companies.
Yeah, the Sweden.
lot of
Saab,
people
Saab,
around-
Saab are rubbing their hands,
Yeah, have rubbing their hands on the Italians and the French. Yeah.
and to some extent the British, because they're still in the pan-European plane industry. So this is all going to have long-term effects, I think, for for the United States. The effects are going to be felt long after Trump is
Oh yeah.
But
in his box.
there's going to be as much, if not more, an effect on America itself than on the rest of the
It's
world.
going to have
isn't there?
more.
Yes, well, that's what they reckon it is going to
Oh,
have more
thank you.
because
Well-
well, it's like he's putting on tariffs on every country he can get his hands on, but they're all giving it back. So it's all it's going to do is create job losses, loss of businesses.
He's going to lose.
You know,
Business concern in America are going to lose out worldwide.
but that's
I mean,
just
actually, the
there.
Canadians are not going to buy anything from them now that they can
Mm.
get somewhere else.
Yeah,
The Chinese won't buy anything from them that they
Well,
can
that's-
get somewhere else.
well,
The
that's just it.
Japanese,
you could end up the whole world working together and not working with
Against
the
them, yeah.
states.
Well, I mean,
Okay,
we're going to
so-
have this thing with South America, the Europeans. They're going to open up the farmers were holding it up there
Mhm.
over beef. That's going to go fly through now.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're going to have all sorts of deals with South America and the Far East.
But
Transfer
what
to America.
Trump seems to overlook completely is that if all the tariffs that he's putting on are going to increase the price to his voter base.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between putting tariffs on staples like rice or meat
Well, they can't say.
and oil, and luxury items like Rolls Royces or
Well, you can't say.
BMWs, Mercedes.
But you can't say he's a good businessman anyway, because how many times has he been bankrupt?
Six times.
You know, so
He
that
managed
proves
to,
he's not a good.
he managed to bankrupt a casino. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
That's
pushing
something
it. That-
takes them
that's
down.
next
that's
level.
excellent.
but the
Major
fact
dough.
of the matter, he survived the bankruptcies.
Mm.
How
because
many times?
because
Yeah,
if you
because
he
because
survived.
because if
He's-
you owe enough to the banks, they'll want you to recover.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, they want you to recover because it's the only way to have a chance of recouping.
Forget
anything
all the
back.
poor
and-
sods who he
and the-
bankrupt in the process.
exactly. Yeah.
There's a way of getting bankrupt nowadays and still hold on to your money.
Oh yeah, there is a way. There is a
But
way.
Canada now he's imposing tariffs on cars from Europe.
Mhm.
Now the cars from Europe were bought by the Americans because they were more economical to run.
Mhm.
And if they have to buy their own produced cars now, they're big cars and they're not economical to
Not
run.
economical
It's
to
going to
run.
cost them more.
Well,
And
it'll
it's-
cost the individual more because the running costs
will.
of the
So,
vehicle.
so his
Yeah,
tactics
yeah.
are going to cost American people more to live.
They reckon that an American car will cost you $10,000 more once
Mhm.
the tariffs come in, because the tariffs are going to be put on all the car parts which
Yeah.
are made in Korea
And metals.
or Japan.
Metal, aluminium, and
The aluminium that is made, if they make the stuff in the country, the raw materials are still going to be.
Exponential.
So
but what's he playing at?
I don't think he knows himself.
I don't think I think
He's gone down a lot in the polls.
well, as somebody said,
His
it's
popularity has waned.
Somebody said, I don't know who it was, it's pointless trying to play chess with a pigeon, because at the end of the day, it'll just knock over all the pieces and shit on the board.
Mm.
And
That's
I
what
think
he's done.
that's the
That's a good-
situation that
Yeah.
we're in.
That sounds like a good description of him, all right. That's I mean, in one way, I think, it was inevitable that this would happen at some stage because of the I'm not an economist, but because of the capitalist system,
Mhm.
if all the money ends up with the 1% on the top, if it's not getting circulated, something has to give.
Something has to give, yeah.
And the economy, I mean, Thatcher and Reagan, they were all for this globalization, moving everything to the cheapest possible place to
Well,
to
he
build it.
didn't believe in tariffs anyway.
But I mean, did anyone not stop and think, well, right, you know, the whole British car industry went down the tubes.
Mhm.
Well, the British car industry went down the tubes when they had protectionism, when they had tariffs on stuff coming in,
Yeah, yeah.
because the British car industry was cushioned from reality. So it made second-rate products. It could get away with producing these because there was no alternative.
Mhm.
So the British car industry became uncompetitive, and then when the tariffs and everything went away, protectionism was no longer there, the industry collapsed, and it just became then, I mean, there is a car industry in Britain, but it's just a bolting together parts. It's a Meccano, a
Yeah,
massive
it's
Meccano
owned by the
industry.
Japanese.
Yeah.
And the Germans, yeah.
It's like Sean Locke, the comedian, he made the statement one time that he owned a Rover because he'd only buy British. He said, it may break down 6 times a year, but I'm British.
Well, Rover's owned by the Indians now.
Oh, yeah, that's how sweet.
But
That's gone.
that's thing for you. But no, it's as I said, the system, whatever, I don't, as I say, I'm not an economist, but somewhere between capitalism and socialism, there must be
A middle way
a
that
middle
works.
way, a landing ground, as Trump
Yeah.
likes to say.
Well, if the money keeps going and it keeps going here and going here and it's going here and it's nothing flowing down for it to go back up,
Yeah,
Well, the way
there
that
has to be a problem.
the way that Trump is talking now, he's looking for a controlled economy. He sounds like Russia in the 1950s.
Does he want
You
to
know,
go back
If
to
you get a bit
barter?
of
He
advice
wants.
from Putin.
But
Well,
the thing
He's getting more protectionist than Putin
Yeah.
because he wants the Fed to drop the interest rates. I mean, that is a market function. It's not something that the president should be doing.
Well,
And
he's
it's
doing a
talk-
lot of things that the president shouldn't be doing. I mean, pardoning.
I don't know.
people.
I don't know if.
But he's already been heard saying that he has found a loophole that he can run for a third term.
Well, so he says.
Well-
Do you think he found a loophole somewhere that he can make a lot more money?
Oh, well, he's done
Well,
that
that's the
already.
reason that he wants
That's
to
the
be
reason.
president in the first place. Well, there are two:
And
one to
He
keep
wants-
out of
he
prison, and
wants
two to make
compete
lots
with
of
Elon
money.
Musk.
There's a lot of things he can't be prosecuted for now. Things that he should have been prosecuted for, but now that he's president. But the thing is, as soon as his presidency is over, they'll come after him again, and this is why he wants to be president
For
again
life.
for a third term.
That in
So-
itself should not be allowed either, kind of that kind of thing, because you're president, you can get away with serving jail sentences. I think that's not democracy.
But like, didn't he take
No.
some of the services that Biden was entitled to as well after finishing?
yeah,
his
yeah,
term.
yeah.
Mm.
But I
Like
mean,
he's
that's
taken
just
rights.
vindictiveness,
Yeah, but it's
and-
like there's something wrong with that man's brain. Has to be.
yeah. I mean, that other thing of changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf.
Yeah.
of
That
America.
was
I mean,
that was stupid.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
if
Taking over
a
Greenland.
5-year-old in a
And I'm
kindergarten
going
did
to,
that,
yeah, but apart from that, I'm going to build
you
a
would
wall,
say
and the
he's
Mexicans are
a
going to pay for it.
jealous little-
That was another one. Build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it.
yeah, yeah.
You know. So
But
Well, that wall didn't go up yet.
No,
and
no.
won't.
and won't either.
No, the Mexican woman is well able for him. She's. But I heard this morning on the radio playback of Barack Obama.
Yes.
He was given. It's the first time he's been talking publicly for a good while. But to listen to that man and compare it to the rantings and ramblings of
He was a good president.
it's like chalk and cheese. You know, there was.
But he can speak, but more
Yeah.
importantly,
He's coherent.
the message that he said in that, he said, And everybody knows it, but it did actually need to be said when he said, "Can you imagine if I had done this?"
Yeah.
What
but like Trump-
everybody would have said.
But the
But like-
Republican Party, especially, was
And he said, "Now there isn't a peep."
But like Trump wanted to take away Obamacare because Obama's name was on it, not because the care system didn't work. He just didn't want Obama's name there. He wanted to change something that it'll be Trump's care
Well,
or
I think
something.
that there is a radical right wing that doesn't think that the poor deserve.
Mhm.
deserved.
But how
Well, he is one of them.
how much of Trump are Americans going to accept?
Yeah, but the thing
I
is,
mean,
how
there has to come a breaking point.
no, but like look what he did in his first term. Like he did a lot of damage in his first term. Yes, he may have done good, but he did bad, and they still went out and voted for
I mean,
him.
he wasn't as controversial then as he is
No,
now.
no.
I think,
No, he definitely more
He knows the ropes a bit better now, you see.
Yeah.
because
Being
he
second.
didn't get in on the second term running. That's
Yes, I think he's punishing America for not
Yeah.
voting him back in
Well,
2020.
Mm.
No, I think the midterm elections will tell a lot.
If there are any.
Although they have to
that's
be.
another thing.
That's constitutionally they have to be.
I don't know idea.
We hope there will
We
be.
hope there will, but I
Well,
don't.
he's
have,
gone down a lot in the polls.
Yeah, but I don't have faith in America. I mean,
No. Not for backing up what needs to
the
be
fact
done.
that they elected him at all.
Yeah.
They can't be as dumb as we think they are.
No, but the
now
fact that-
by putting me up with
No, but the
Unfortunately,
facts
there seems to be
that
an
they let
even
him run in the first
plus
place.
some, you know.
Yeah.
It's frightening. That's the.
Very true.
I keep saying it. He is bad, but what frightens me is that the people that voted for him. That's the frightening thing.
Yeah.
Well, no, the people who are manipulating him are the ones that we really need to be worried about.
Some of
think
us
you're
over
right
the
there, Paul.
Republican Party are coming out against him now. Not openly, but kind of.
Yeah, they're watching their backs, but is that the way to run anything, country or company? If you're afraid of your life, to open your mouth.
Well, it's like watching a gangster movie.
It is, yeah, exactly.
It is, and just like a movie has to end, and
And will.
unfortunately we have to end too because we've nearly hit that time. We just like to
Germans
thank.
would say he's a Hitler coming back.
All right. Unfortunately, but we'll have to say our goodbyes, and unfortunately, I won't be with you for the next couple of months, but hopefully sooner than everyone plans.
We wish
But
you
we
well
shall
in your
talk to you
endeavours.
very soon. We'll say goodbye from Eddie, goodbye from Ted, goodbye from Paul, and goodbye from me. And hope to see you online, or you can hear us online, or on the airwaves on 90.8. This is Erris FM and Alternative Facts signing out. Thank you for listening.
Alternative facts to that. But the point
Wait a minute.
remains
Alternative
that there's
facts? Alternative facts for the 5 facts he uttered. Look, alternative facts are not facts. They're falsehoods.
alternative facts.
Any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And that's something Nazi Germany would have done and did do.
Alternative facts.
Online and on 90.8 FM. This is the sound of Erris, your community radio station, Erris FM.
Hello, hi, welcome to the programme. And my name is Bridget McMahon, and you're listening to Erris FM. So I'll be doing a show and I'll be featuring mainly local artists, and at times we'll be featuring artists further across the field. But today I have a special guest in, and his name is Red Connolly. And I'm going to be asking Red a few questions: what inspired him, and what brought him to Belmullet, and he's going to play us a few of his songs, original songs. So Red, hi, lovely to have you in the studio.